lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Talking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of the people who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out to Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvolt, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, who actually makes videos. I subscribe to you today, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth. Hopefully see some content from you. Shout out to Chow Young Cat, Dank, David Wayne Foster, Edwin Johnson, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin', Jeranism, Kirsten Smith, Life Is Short, Matt, Michael, Page, Qatar Craig, Reinhardt, Renee, Sam Hines, Skeptic936, Texas Mike, theflatearthchannel.com, Tina Baker, and Tom Herkins. Massive shout out to all of you. I don't know if we're actually joined by anybody at the moment. Let's have a quick check and see where anybody is. Nope, totally alone at the moment. Fortunately, this is going to be going out on Nathan Oakley as opposed to Nathan Oakley 1980. So talk amongst yourselves in the chat, as nobody's here to talk to me. See an interesting video for some Sleeping Warrior, asking the fundies to prove that the Earth is spinning as opposed to the stars, pointing out that there is no scientific validity to the assertion that Earth has rotation. Just presuppositions. But in his video, he had pictures of satellites, if you will. So it had like a fisheye lens camera looking down at Earth with the horizon. And then you see like a solar panel pop into view. And my wife said, well, how are they getting these pictures then if they're getting them from these satellites that are up in the air? Was how she phrased it to me. My reply was, well, yeah, they're up in the air. They're not claimed in the claim to be vacuum of space. Especially after you can see there's lists and reams of these satellites claimed to be in space that are actually going up on balloons. Anyway, hopefully there won't be too much dead air while we wait for our first guests to arrive. 25 minutes before the actual live show starts, so with any luck we will have a few people join us. We did have a Earth-shaped investigator in the Discord server, which is why I started the show, thinking I'd at least have a conversation with him. Now I'm just sat here on my Todd. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, nonetheless. My chat feed's not working. Sort that out. I'll change to a different screen just so you don't see me messing around with things. Looking messy. Let's see how that looks. Good enough for government work, I believe. There we go. Riveting start to the show. Question I ask myself at this point: should I stop the recording? Start again when I've got guests, as the shaped investigators vanished. No, I'm going to risk it for a biscuit. I'm going to leave it recording. You're going to have to suffer the dead air at the beginning of this show. Hopefully it'll all be worthwhile. Someone will join with something really interesting to say. Or not. I don't know why I'm stressed about this. I typically have started Uncut and After shows in the past with nobody here, just so any decent conversation that does get going gets heard by the audience when they first arrive, because it always happens. I start the recording after they've told me all about their exciting news, and then their second time rendition of it isn't quite so excited or excitable by the person telling you. I can look back at some of the older debates. The live show started like this, so I'd start the live shows with absolutely no guests. Just do like constant links asking people to join. Ah, the good old days of waiting for people to arrive whilst recording. Oh, here we go. Finally got a guest, somebody to talk to.
Hello.
Hello. Good to have you.
Yeah, good to be here.
Pounding Pavement, is that your name?
Yes, that'll be me. I'm a mailman, so.
Terrible audio. I can hear you creaking and cracking more than I can hear you talking.
I'll pop on mute.
Well, I was hoping to have a chat with you, but like I say, your audio is pretty awful. Don't know what's going on with it. Lots of background noise.
Yeah, I'm at work, so that's why I stay on mute most of the time.
Fair enough. So what's your story? What's with the screen name?
I'm a mailman, so I walk a lot.
Mailman. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I came aboard probably a year ago.
Presumably you know the term going postal?
Yeah, we're not allowed to say that anymore.
You're not allowed to say it at work. Oh, he's going postal. Meaning
Yeah,
nuts.
we had an incident here that came up in conversation. Yeah, it's funny. People say it to me all the time. It's a real thing.
I can only imagine that there's some truth in it. It wouldn't be a turn of phrase if there wasn't, right?
Exactly. Overworked, underpaid type of thing,
Which side of the fence do you sit? Flat Earth or globe Earth?
Flat.
So you're probably not depressed then. Probably not depressed then.
Definitely not.
Oh, that's
I
good
take
to hear.
the same attitude you do, as the wonder has increased infinitely.
What are you talking to me on a mobile phone?
Yeah, unfortunately. I only join the Discord just so I can hear the before and after shows while they're going on, because I was tired of waiting, listening to the show twice, waiting for the afternoon show. So I figured I'd just jump in, listen, and I don't have to listen to it twice. Not that I have a problem listening to it twice. It's always good to sharpen your arguments.
I can just about make out what you're saying. Hey, Flatzoid.
Hello.
Someone else with loads of background noise.
Sorry, that was talking next to me.
It's okay. Pounding pavement, Flatzoid, pounding pavement.
Hey, Flatzoid.
Hey, how's it going?
All good, except for the audio.
It's all good. I'll take it, man. It beats me sitting here talking to myself.
Nathan, I really wanted to ask you about your approach to teaching children about reality. Because I have two small children myself, and we often
It sounded like you asked me about the touching children reality. I'm sure that isn't what you said. Maybe it is.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I said teaching children.
Oh, teaching children reality. Yeah. What about it?
I have two children, and they come home from school. We talk about. I try not to lie to them. So when I find stuff, I will often share it with them. So I was just curious as to your approach to dealing with what they're learning, maybe in school, compared to what you know that's not being taught in school.
Okay, I think I caught most of that. That's something that literally, right as we speak, I'm discussing with my wife in terms of how we're going to go about schooling our kids. So, the reviews of the schools around here are pretty crappy, the ones that are completely local. And I don't know, I didn't have a great experience at school myself personally. So we're exploring the options in terms of how we can get her educated. So, her being the oldest one, the one that's about to go to school. So,
Yeah.
I don't really want to indoctrinated with nonsense in what to me seems like a prison. I went swimming today, and there's classes of kids that came along with this, obviously with their teachers, and they're being told while we're getting changed, and we're chatting away as a family. I went with my wife and both kids to the swim baths, and I can hear the teacher telling them not to talk. No talking, I heard. I'm like, sheesh. People are telling me about the social aspects of school and when they're plugging how wonderful it is to me. I'm like, you go to a swimming bath and you're told you're not allowed to talk. Like, what? Just one example.
But that's why with me and my wife, we're having the same discussion. And we're looking at maybe just sending our daughter to school until maybe grade 3, standard 1, and then from there homeschooling. I mean, on the side, she still does ballet and swimming, so she still gets a social that she needs.
Yeah,
I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and due to our travel schedule, we often will have the debate on, and so they're picking up the lingo. My daughter asked me yesterday, "Daddy, what's Coriolis?" Try explaining that to an 8-year-old.
An apparent deviation caused by a rotational frame of reference spinning underneath a non-inertial frame of reference. That's what's Coriolis. There you go. I hope that was concise enough for her.
That's exactly what I said.
I've got to cut down on the swearing. You're like the third or fourth person that's told me that their kids are listening, and there's me effing and blinding when I get short-tempered with people who interrupt. I've got to stop doing it. I say don't swear in every intro.
Have you not
Are you kidding me? They love that. They laugh so hard.
Got to stop doing it. I know you're not the only one who said my kids find it funny. It's like it's just bad use of language. Got to do better.
But have you not realized, Nathan, if you have to explain something like that to your children, that they understand it better than the grown-ups will talk to?
I have to tell my daughter every time we have conversations, we keep this between us. Like, don't go to school and start arguing with your teachers, because I'm not trying to be put on one of those lists where the parents are talking about stuff and teaching their children stuff, and if you know what I mean.
Hello, 10th.
Good morning. Well, I caught the end of it. My wife and I homeschooled all three of our kids, and two of our kids are giving us 5 grandchildren, one on the way in a month. That would make it 6. And both of them are homeschooling. So we are not going to sacrifice them to the system that doesn't want to properly teach them in all manners and ways.
Yep. I'm also homeschooling.
And they grew up with tremendous people skills. I myself, being in sales and marketing, taught them how to shake hands, look people in the eye, ask questions. And I get compliments all the time as they were growing up, how they're different than any other kids that some of the adults we ran into. Well, your kids are different. How come? And I go, well, they're homeschooled.
Yeah, I think it also keeps them away from the wrong crowds.
Well, it's not so much keeps them away from the wrong crowds. We are able to teach them what the wrong crowds are.
Yeah, you're building the right foundation.
Yeah, so then when they get with the wrong crowds, then they recognize it and have a foundation to go by.
Huh?
Someone's sandwich is ready. Ordered 9, come and get your sandwich.
We also chose to not vaccinate our children, which makes things, on top of everything else, makes things a lot more fun. Being sarcastic, of course.
Yeah, my children are not vaccinating their
Same
children
here.
at all. And
Yeah, same here. No vax.
the day one of my grandchildren was born prematurely, was in the NICU for 3 months. Just barely made it. He's doing great now. They wanted to pump him with 8 different vaccines the day he was born. We said, "Are you crazy? He's barely alive." He's coming to find out they get bonuses from the pharma companies when they do the vaccines. These people sell their soul.
I'm concerned because in New York, they took away the religious exemption. So if you don't vaccinate your kids in New York, you're not allowed to send them to school. I don't know the explicit details of it, but
You might. We've lost what you've said now. To be honest, we can't hear the rest of what you're saying. I heard in New York they've taken away the exemption, and then the mic got so bad I couldn't make out what you're saying.
I was just saying, can you hear me? I was just saying, I don't know the details, but I know that there was a couple that basically sold their house and moved just because of that. And I'm concerned that they're gonna spread that to where I am in Massachusetts, in Boston. So I don't know. I'm unsettled.
But if
Yeah,
you're not
they're
going to,
doing that in California. Anything to do with any public education, they've tightened all the rules on those things. So, yeah, it's let my people go. It's time to move. If your state is that way, I mean, that's your personal choice, of course, but they're making it harder.
in terms of cosmology, though, my attitude will always be to let them make their own mind up in terms of what they understand as true and what they understand as untrue, as opposed to me saying the globe's a lie or anything of that nature. It's like, I'm pretty certain they'll pick it up of their own volition because of what I do without me even trying. So it seems like a pointless exercise to ever sit either of them down and say this is the nature of your reality when they can undoubtedly overhear it.
You're right about that, but I'll take it one step back, if I may. I take that as a go.
Take that as a yeah.
Okay, no problem. Go get coffee. I taught my kids to ask questions, as I previously said, about everything. So if someone says there's this, ask them why. If Someone says there isn't this, ask them why. And you'll find the truth by asking questions and digging deep yourself. So asking questions, learning how to part the lies. And Nathan, that's one of the reasons I'm on your shows, is because you point out the fallacies and you won't argue within the fallacies. And I was doing that without knowing there were fallacies, so to speak, as a parent. I mean, I didn't know what to call him at the time. I just said, okay, what did he say? Why do those words hurt your feelings? Can someone else have power over you? All these different things you go through with your kids.
Sorry, it's just loud over here. Yeah, I agree. Asking questions is great. I try to teach my kids to do that every day. So I'm gonna stay on unless otherwise directed towards them.
Well, we got 8 minutes to go based on my conceptual time frame.
There we go. Got some new shot glasses today. Before we went swimming, went into town and went to a charity shop. And I frequent the charity shops at the moment because I want shot glasses, like nice large shot glasses or little coffee cups from a coffee machine. And they're typically really expensive. I just want cheap ones because I go through them all day. And so I saw 5 shot glasses that were definitely bigger than double shot size. And I was like, oh, those are quite an unusual shape. I just bought them and fill them up with coffee and then realised that they're actually in the shape of a skull. I've got little skull-shaped shot glasses. Not very me, but there we go. They're the right size, which is all that matters. Might have some answering to do if someone notices.
Oh, yeah, we thrift stores. We call them here thrift stores.
Yeah, thrift stores, charity shops.
Yeah, I go there all the time, or I used to. That's where I got most of my vinyl records.
Right.
The older generation was passing away and their kids didn't know what vinyl was, and they ended up at the thrift store. So I'd pick it up 10 cents to $1 a piece, depending on the quality.
What's vinyl?
What's vinyl?
I'm just joking.
No, I know you are.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't watched it, but I looked at my subscription, and Anthony has a video up, and the title caught me. If Earth turn causes sunsets, why can't science prove it? And I was thinking about Coriolis. Well, if the Earth is turning to cause the sunset, the Earth is turning under the helicopter, right?
Yeah, you were looking for you tacitly had a link yesterday or the day before, but no, that's much better. Correct. If Earth's spinning causing that sun to set, then Earth's spinning. And if it's spinning, it becomes a rotational frame of reference, a non-inertial spinning reference frame, as they allege. And according to them, that would give you a Coriolis effect now, wouldn't it? It doesn't. We don't see any deviation. It's horseshit. Oh, God, watch my language.
Horseradish.
I think Paul's having some mic issues. He's just dropped.
What is gravity the mic?
What does gravity debunk, did you say?
I said he has gravitied the mic. Okay,
right.
Dropped it.
Yeah, it drops like a stone off the hangout as well. I notice when people drop, they drop.
Yeah, that's such a weak argument they keep bringing up. Well, when I drop something, that's gravity. Well, what did they call it before they called it gravity when they dropped something? You just gave it a new name with a new meaning to tie into pseudoscience. That's all you did was rename it with a pseudoscience.
Hey, did anybody catch Randy's video last night with Anthony on?
Yeah, I caught the first half of it. The guy was just a bullshitter. There's no way he was a scientist. He couldn't formulate a hypothesis.
I've realized that's how you catch him out all the time to find out if they really are. Ask them, what's the hypothesis? 90% of them can't even answer.
Yeah, he gave a hypothesis: if Earth is flat, if Earth is not flat, as the null. And you're like, how the hell are you going to vary that, you idiot?
And he's a scientist.
Claim to be a scientist. You're giving an independent variable of the shape of the Earth. Oh yeah, that's something variable and manipulatable by a researcher, isn't it now, you idiot? So I said that spammed that a few times in the chat, and then, hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys.
Hello.
Hola.
How you guys doing?
Doing well.
What's up?
Sky. But yeah, I spammed that a few times. I was like, this guy isn't a scientist, he's a fraud, I'm out of here. I didn't even need to hear Anthony's rebuttal. I'm sure he'll fill me in, but I knew after he'd given his presentation that he would be absolutely torn to shreds by Anthony. And it was pretty late. It was about midnight by the time he'd finished his long-winded, boring presentation.
I missed the actual presentation, but from what I hear, I didn't miss much.
No, you didn't miss much, no. Just a liar, just a fraud. Claims to be a scientist, can't formulate a hypothesis. You're like, you don't know where you are, mate. You're in the shark's tank here. You think they're not going to catch you out for being a bullshitter?
Yeah, that's what I got out of that. Like, this guy doesn't even know where he is right now.
He thinks I'm in amongst the flat earth retards, so I'll just lie and say I'm a scientist.
That's like the gal that Anthony was talking to on the street with that young man. They were both college students, and she had a major in quantum physics or quantum mechanics, and she was mislabeling independent variable and dependent variable. She couldn't even get that right. And she was saying, well, how many papers have you written? How many things have you? And where's your certificates? Where? And she can't even.
This guy was the professor.
Well, now I know.
More like the professor from Gilligan's Island, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, then I can't blame her, because if these are the professors, now that explains why she was so confused.
Oh, well, then it's like they're literally dumbing people down.
Hey, Arwen.
Good morning, Arwen.
1 minute, we're going live.
Are we?
Yeah. Rasta's really been wreaking some havoc in my chat recently.
Who?
Rasta Hat.
Stopping traffic in my Rasta hat. Yeah, he's got his opinions, he certainly has.
Hey, you're still busy with the rest of that. Oh, caught some of it on Saturday with him and Trish Blythe.
David,
Hey, Paul.
What?
It's Saturday.
Yeah.
Quite a hangout with him and Trish Blythe.
Yeah, I remember. I was there.
It was, how can I say? Very dramatic.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion right here, right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by Flatsoid, Paul, Chocolate Saiyan, Arwin, 10th Man, and I think that's pretty much it in G+. Welcome one and all.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Yo, good morning.
Hello, hello, hello. And we're also joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord as well. So hello to everyone in Discord.
Good afternoon, Mr. Oakley.
Good afternoon. Hello, hello. Any signs of Earth curvature?
No.
Still flat in South Africa.
Nothing from California.
Any evidence of axial rotation?
No.
Earth is stationary.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm still not moving.
I mean, I was almost convinced with the Mr. Professor from Gilligan's Island who wanted to debate Riley. I mean, I was almost convinced by sunsets and sunrise and look, things are moving in the sky. That was his argument of this is evidence for Earth spinning. So, yeah.
Check out.
What is
check
this
out.
hypothesis?
Just want to plug Sleeping Warriors. So check out Sleeping Warriors video. I assume that's in response to some of the nonsense that was spouted by a claimed to be professor yesterday on Flat Earth Roundtable on Ranty Flat Earth YouTube channel. So check out Ranty Flat Earth and Sleeping Warriors debate / discussion / endless droning on about what isn't science. So yeah, no, very poor, not a proof of axial rotation, but Anthony has addressed that in terms of the lack of scientific evidence for Earth rotation and the nonsense that's espoused to the claim that we have an axial rotation for a spherical Earth. Go on, Flatsoid. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. Go on.
Any evidence of gas pressure without a container for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe in the vacuum of the sky known as outer space?
Gravity.
We'll
No.
get there.
Let's
We'll
walk
get there,
outside, man.
We'll get there. We'll get to gravity as well.
I'd like to circle. I haven't got time right now, but I would like to circle back to this topic when I get a chance. So just
No worries.
continue on, and I'll come back later.
Yeah, fine. Any evidence of gravity, scientific evidence thereof?
Nope.
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity, the thing claimed that you can maintain gas pressure
How
without
can
a
you-
container, without any sort of demonstration.
Well, the proof would be that we have gas pressure here on this Earth, and it couldn't be if there was no gravity, because then, yeah, all the gas would be sucked into outer space. Ha!
That's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If gravity,
is?
then yeah, if gravity, P, then gas pressure without a container, which is also a logical fallacy. Q, gas pressure without a container, therefore gravity. That's if P, then Q, Q, therefore P, affirming the consequent. A logical
But how
fallacy.
would you? How can you anyway have scientific evidence of a conceptual medium?
You can't. You can't have scientific evidence of the bending of a conceptual medium known as space-time. That's utter nonsense.
But what if you don't believe that,
Unless-
and you want to
unless
believe
you-
in Newton?
Unless you remember that there is no spoon.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Not measurable.
Well,
Nope.
you don't know that, but it's not measured. You don't know if it's not measurable. You have to try that first.
Hello to proficient pirate, Silver Umbrella, and Dougie. Good to have you.
Well, they've measured everything else, so what's holding them back?
No, they haven't.
What else did they measure?
They deduced shit.
What else did they actually measure though?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Not measurable. They say it's 93 million miles away.
But where did they get that in the first place, though?
You want the answer
By
quickly?
by pseudo measurements.
No, I'm just wondering, where did the original input for that start?
Aristarchus assumed the Earth is a sphere based on the eclipse. So the curved shadow means Earth's blocking the sun as a sphere. So that's the first assumption. Then you have the calculation from, what is it, Aristoteles. That'll give you your measurement of a presupposed R value. And then you take the presupposition that Earth is a sphere with that R value, and then transpose that onto Venus and give Venus the same radius as Earth. Then you apply Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion to calculate the eclipses and transits to give you the exact distances. So you end up with a sun at 93 million miles away, based on the mathematics of assuming Venus is the same size as Earth, Earth is a sphere with a given radius. That's how you get it.
Holy shit, I didn't know it was that elaborate.
The exact distances of an assumption. Nice.
It starts with
You
R.
summed it up really well there, but damn, man. That's a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, sure. It starts with R, though. So any evidence of Earth radius, the R value, spherical R value assumed for Earth.
Well, it would have to be, otherwise
here.
the sun couldn't be 93 million miles away.
You've got to have R first. That you asked where the maths came from. The maths includes R. Any evidence of R? Presupposition thereof.
No, I got my sticks with me, sorry.
But that was my point, though. That's it. The R has to be like that, otherwise the sun wouldn't have been 93 million miles away. Get it?
Yeah, but you've got the R value from in the first instance, the R value has come from that celestial body. So you assume Earth is a sphere, and then you take the trajectory that the sun travels in that seems to be a circle, apparent circle that it takes, and you assume that the average point is the equator, but that would be the average point, i.e. the centre point, on a presupposed sphere. So instead of it going above your head in a circle, it's now traversing the outside edge of a sphere when you make those measurements. Hence you can automatically, or they automatically, insert the R value into their measurements, because it's automatically presupposed that your sun is in a fixed position at the centre of the solar system, and the reason it spins is because you're spinning around that axis at the given R value, and that R value has come from the sun in the first place. So, yeah. Anyway, it's my exasperation. Any evidence of the R value or not?
Wait,
got a super
where?
chat?
I'm lost. That was too much.
That super chat, Nathan.
So, yeah, I was just reading it. So, Leonardo Gonzalez, thank you very much indeed for the super chat. He says, Nathan, you've had that guy on the that debated Anthony on your show before. He's that guy that wanted to model flat Earth. You must have pummeled him so badly he turned baller and fraud again. Thanks very much for the super chat, Leonardo Gonzalez. I don't remember him. Certainly don't recall his voice.
Really?
So many fundies come by.
I don't know. He doesn't seem like... Well, I don't know. I could be wrong. We've had a lot of episodes, but I don't remember that guy ever here.
I don't remember him either.
I
trust Leonardo's right, though.
The guy's a total LARP. Total idiot. Tier 1 arguments. It was just...
So, Mercury M7 says, Nathan Oakley 1980 is a stupid scammer. Let me know what you're out, and I'll refund you, Mercury M7. No questions asked. Just let me know the amount. Anyway, moving on. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
There's that R
all just yummy marshmallows over a fire.
Say again, Flatsoid?
Molten iron core always reminds Flatsoid of a marshmallow under a fire.
Right.
He always says it.
Well, I'm just wondering, has anybody ever brought back up a sample of this molten iron at some point?
No, they've only got 12k. You know this as well as I do. They haven't dug down further than 12 kilometres. About 8 miles. Cola deep borehole, I think it's called. Like a...
it was
super deep borehole, yeah.
It's a couple of inch, maybe 3 inch wide pipe that they've dug down. and they got to about 12 and a bit kilometers, and they couldn't go any further.
They couldn't, or
No.
they wouldn't.
They couldn't. They'd go a few inches, and then they'd get through their drill bit, and then they'd go another few inches, and then they'd get through their drill bit. It wasn't like they were cutting through and laying down pipe. They were just cutting and destroying drill bits, and they just basically couldn't go any further.
Even with tungsten? That is weird.
Pretty sure they were on the cutting edge, no pun intended, of the technology to drill with when they did that.
Yeah, that's tungsten. They're tungsten made. It's the hardest material known. And very durable.
Pretty sure adamantium's harder, but...
If you can give us a sample of that,
I'll just wait for that next meteorite to come down with it and
no,
send in a team of assassins to go and hijack it for you, Arwin.
No, meteorites don't contain adamantine. Meteorites contain other type of alloys.
You gotta go to Wakanda.
What's a meteorite?
Metal, a piece of metal coming down from somewhere above, hitting.
So anyway, to answer your question, no, nobody has sampled the presupposed molten iron core. No, that hasn't happened, Darwin. I think that concludes the housekeeping.
What I've gathered is that meteorites contain unique alloys that don't naturally form, which would be nickel. What is it? Nickel cadmium. Yep, a natural composition, according to what I've heard from an actual metallurgist.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, I just want to ask, have you actually checked it yourself?
I don't know. Look, guys, I don't know if meteorites are a complete fictional tale. At this point, I'm saying, like, I just don't know where this comes from. I could imagine it could be artificially created as a very long-term scan that could be 200 years old or something. But I just don't know for sure. Maybe there is some kind of natural cause for these weird rocks to be falling down to Earth, you know? I remember there being descriptions even in the Bible about it. So,
hey,
you know?
Yellow. I cannot give you a super chat. I cannot give you a super chat, but I come into the panel because maybe somebody that don't like me want to give you a super chat, maybe to insult me or something. So yeah, good looking at.
Jose.
What's up, Jose?
Yeah.
You're not Mon Patrol.
I'm sorry, what was that? I got a happy what?
You got a happy face.
I got a happy face. Yeah, I'm struggling and going through a lot of personal things, but always keeping my head high and a smile on my face. That's how we do it, man.
That's good.
What's going on, Jose? You all right, man?
All is good. Yeah, I woke up really early, so why not to join a little bit? Maybe I get put in the spot, and I'm gonna say like, I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna go down.
You try to make it like old times.
You know it, man. You know it.
Why not?
Yeah.
You know that globe shit is nonsense anyway, so it's okay.
I'll be good. I'll behave. I'm trying to breathe in deep and try to keep under control. I'm struggling with my own triggering and coming in hot. So yeah, I'm working on it.
Was it Arwin that mentioned stopping traffic in my Rasta hat?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in our chat now. Shout out to stopping traffic in my Rasta hat.
Woohoo!
Got a mention on the pre-show, stopping traffic, just so you know.
Yay, Rasta.
I think we're done with housekeeping, by the way, in case anyone was deeply concerned.
Hey, Jose, did you see Randy?
To be honest, that was kind of my cue for Paul.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I was trying to... I'm back. I'm just trying to get everybody out the door this morning, so I'm just trying to do it. But I'll see if I can do it really quickly. Gas pressure without a container and differential pressure, right? That's the argument from the Globers. I actually got one of them to admit something yesterday that I think is very relevant to this discussion. Let me see if I can share my screen here. I wish I could record this stuff when I have this conversation, but I never can. Okay. That's not what I want. Okay. Everybody's seen this, right, before?
Periodic table.
Okay. What's that?
Got the periodic table up, right?
Right. So up to the top left-hand corner, you got hydrogen. Over to the right here, you got helium. Then you got nitrogen and oxygen, all this stuff. Well, both hydrogen and helium are gases, obviously. Then you got nitrogen and oxygen. Well, to make a nitrogen or an oxygen gas molecule, is usually O2, which means it's two particles or atoms of oxygen, which raises the atomic weight from 8 to 16. Okay, so you get this basic idea, and everybody understands that roughly, so I don't have to unpack that too much, right? Or basic understanding.
I think we could just take the silence as we all agree.
Okay. Now, you see this? This is the comparable kinetic energy of an object. Like if you look at the different objects here, between the velocity and the actual energy produced changes, you know, but it's also proportional to the density, to the weight of the object and stuff like that. Kind of like if you look at the base, I used the tennis ball comparison yesterday. Like if a tennis ball has the same velocity or same speed hitting a wall, would it have the same force applied to it as a baseball? What do you guys think? I mean, obviously you can look at the comparison; it shows it, but basically a baseball would have more force applied to it because of the weight of the object compared to a tennis ball, right? You understand that?
Well, you would have to apply more force to the baseball anyway, right? It's heavier, more dense.
Well, I'm just talking about just the speed right now. Yeah, you would have to have more force to accelerate it, definitely. But I mean, I'm talking about if you're going at the exact same rate of speed or velocity, whatever the word is. When they impact the wall, the baseball is going to apply more force than the tennis ball will, because basically of the weight of the objects, even though they could be roughly the same size.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay, now look at this right here. If I can find it here. Hold on. Do you see this chart? It's basically a chart of the atmosphere. It shows the different layers of the atmosphere. You guys see that? And if you
just got it scaled. Yeah, I can see all the scales now. I've got it on screen.
Okay, so you got the height of kilometers at the bottom. So at the lower altitudes, the most of what you're going to have is nitrogen and oxygen. Which if we go back to, where is it at? Go back to this. Where do you have it? Go back to this chart. Obviously, the nitrogen and oxygen are heavier, so they're going to be more at the bottom of this. Where'd the graph go? At this graph. But as you go up, like this gray area is helium, and this really light gray area is hydrogen. So now, obviously, because the mass of the particles at ground level are going to be heavier than the particles at higher altitudes, there's going to be the kinetic energy applied to that. The force of that's going to be reduced. You understand that?
I'm with you. Are we following so far?
Okay.
Everyone else following?
Go ahead.
Just checking
You're not
everyone else
following?
on the panel. If everyone else is following, everyone's just on mute. I just don't want this to come to a conclusion and everyone else go, I wasn't really listening.
Yeah, I'm following so far.
Okay. Right, and obviously we know water typically is down at the ground level typically, so it does rise, but not that much because of its atomic weight as well. But I think there's other factors involved with that. Now, if the molecules hitting say the balloon or the barometer at higher altitudes would be there could be the same amount of stuff, but because their atomic weight is less, the pressure applied to the barometer would be less. Just like because the less force is applied to the wall with like the tennis ball or the baseball. I mean, you still have to have a containment of this gas pressure, and I think the key component in this is water itself, because we know when you put water in a vacuum, you remove all the air, it starts to boil. So this all is still a pressurized system and has to have containment, is my argument. But what is causing the differential pressure is the nature of the gases at each level. You understand? That's my claim at this point.
Yeah, you're always going to have the necessary antecedent for gas pressure in the first instance. You've got to have a container. You don't need to put that in your caveat, because you're just explaining a reasonable explanation for the pressure density gradient. It doesn't change the antecedent that's required. You're still going to need a container. So
right,
MC,
go ahead.
sorry, I just used to shout out the super chatter. Sorry, MC Universe Sacred Truth Keeper says the ripples created from this show will echo through space-time for trillions of light years. Yeah, right. Thanks, guys. And then a peace sign and heart. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, MC Universe Sacred Truth Seeker.
Okay, right. So back to that, the containment issue. If you remove the container, obviously the first gas is going to go is hydrogen. It's gone. The next layer, helium. It's gone. The next layer is the ozone layer, which is this regular oxygen. It's gone. Then and so forth and so on until you get to the water, which also will start to boil off, which I think is becoming a necessary antecedent to have liquid pressure, or to have water in liquid form has to be pressure. So I'll leave it there for discussion. I'm going to have to finish getting everybody ready for work. So I'll listen and comment as I can.
There's nothing to add, really, Paul. I mean, you've just laid out stuff that's obvious and, documented and makes perfect sense in terms of how the gases are going to separate because of the density. There's nothing to really argue against in what you're saying. It all makes perfect logical sense. So I don't know if anyone else has got anything to add or discuss. Heaven forbid someone would want to dispute anything that Paul's just said, given that it's basically common sense and absolute fact in every regard. I can't see anybody disputing anything you've just said, if I'm honest, Paul.
Well, Jose's on here. He's a Glober, or if anybody on the Discord, what do you guys think?
We haven't got contrarian Jose. Well, we might have. Maybe you'll prove me wrong. He came in and provided a citation against space-time yesterday, so it seems like Jose's had a bit of an about turn rather than defending the nonsense. He seems to come in and pointing out and highlighting the nonsense last time he came on, at least. So.
Yeah, I listen to you. Yeah, I mean, you explain well. You point. I cannot refute that. I'm just listening, man.
But sometimes it is worthwhile pointing out some of those things to the general audience, because some people aren't aware of these things. It's pretty basic stuff, though. Wouldn't you agree, Paul?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, very much so. And something else I'll bring up real quick when it comes to the Coriolis effect. I actually got them to admit yesterday that you can be moving and standing still at the same time. Do we know anything that violates?
Wow.
The law of non-contradiction?
Non-contradiction? Maybe. Like, how are you moving and staying still at the same time? I mean, come on, guys. Accelerating coffee cups that's sitting on my table. What's going on, man?
It's kind of like it's double speak in the regards that you could say, well, if you're sat on a bus, you could sit completely motionless on that frame of reference that is in turn moving, but that doesn't mean you're not moving. Yeah, you're in a stationary position on the frame of reference that's moving. You know what I mean? You can't be moving and not moving. That just isn't.
Why? I'm still going to continue asking them and proposing little thought experiments and situations, because they do really, the globe side do a lot of thought experiments, like what if you are like in a moving car or a moving train or all this shit. So I propose them a lot of small little thought experiments and situations, and and they're not gonna like this, but it's true. I call them in their faces. That sounds like double speak to me. They do a lot, because is it the atmosphere velcro to the earth? Is it not? Is it moving separate? I mean, this about reference frames, Coriolis, I'm still all over the place understanding it, because one day somebody says something, one day the same person another day say something, even 5 minutes later, or in the same sentence. So it's still all over the place. They say, "Oh, we have explained it 1,000 times and very well," but there are issues that me, at least, not having English as my first language, it's not that I cannot understand it in the first take, but I've heard it 700 times and I still can't understand it because it's a lot of double speak for real.
Jose, the problem is that they don't understand their own arguments. Have you noticed that the double speak that they, like you just said, sometimes it's in the same sentence, the double speak. They don't understand this argument. And that's what's making it so crazy, because they think we're wrong. And it's like, no, guys, in your model, right, in your narrative, the Earth is supposed to be spinning underneath every object in the inertial reference frame, right?
I remember
Anytime you leave the ground, it should be spinning underneath you, but it's not.
I remember when I asked
the reason. I'm sorry, but the reason they're confused is that in their model, yeah, if you do a quick Google search, yeah, the atmosphere is supposed to be spinning with the Earth. But the problem is, in their narrative, they also have the Coriolis, which goes completely against that. So it's like, it's not even their fault that they're confused. It's the narrative itself that's self-defeating. They've got two bullshit points in the same narrative. You get that?
Yeah, and it's disturbing when I ask him, like, but I know they hate the Neil deGrasse Tyson quotes and the stuff, but it's out there. I mean, that's what he proposes, and people that haven't looked into this subject, they listen to deGrasse and they say, like, all right, yeah, he's the man. But I say, so when he says that the football went into the net or whatever, they did the goal, is because of Coriolis. If the Earth rotated underneath the ball for like whatever split time and he went in the thing, whatever quote he did about the ball and the Coriolis. I call bullshit to that, and they actually did. They said, yeah, no, that's bullshit. And somebody else said, no, it's true. I go, like, what is going on? In the same, within 5 seconds, one person say that's not true, that's just kind of just a show. Another person say, oh no, it's true. I say, what is going on here?
Exactly the point. See what I just told you? Even their own narrative has them fighting amongst themselves as to which part of the narrative is true. It's bullshit, bro. Just look at it. Just listen to these guys try to argue with it. It's nonsense. You know it. You just said it.
Oh no, I'm evolving well, bro. As the days go by, I like thinking of more little thought experiments. I let people just go at it and try to keep it calm, but I really do want to ask these questions over and over, and they get the little grin in their face, like, oh my god, like we just explained this. I said, yeah, explain it again, because I'm getting two answers. I'm getting left and I'm getting right. I want the straight answer.
Well, the straight answer is only a globetard would pay a bus fare for a non-moving bus.
Nice. Yeah, man.
The reason the narrative falls apart is because the narrative is a lie and it's built on the fallacy. And if it was true, it wouldn't fall apart.
Oh, I get it. So they get on the bus under the guise that the chauffeur promised them that he would go out for a drive eventually. And they're just waiting. That's kind of NASA.
Yeah, they get on the bus and they say don't worry about us not moving. The Earth will rotate underneath. Honest.
And then I hear a lot about inertia. It depends on the inertia. The object and the leaving the. I forgot the term, but it also has to do with velocity. Like, it depends if it has a motor that you can control the apparatus, like whatever, a helicopter. You don't have to, because you're controlling it. And then there's the air current. So there's no like the answer is many variables. So many variables in every single
I just want to unpack that, Jose. So what you're saying is they fight for the conservation of angular momentum. In other words, the thing leaves the spinning reference frame and continues at the same rate. But that argument is an argument for there being no deviation. Their claim that the deviation that is Coriolis effect is proving Earth spins. The people who argue that it retains the spin aren't proving the Coriolis deviation. They're essentially saying, we don't see deviation. Well, they're supposed to be, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, fighting for seeing that deviation because that's what's supposed to be proving it's spinning.
But they know there isn't. So they can't look too crazy, so they have to fight that there isn't, even though they have to fight that there is.
They're supposed to. They're supposed to fight there is, because that's the thing. The deviation, the Coriolis effect, is supposed to be the bit that proves Earth spinning. Because what creates Coriolis effect? Earth spinning underneath a non-inertial reference frame. The deviation claimed by Neil deGrasse Tyson, seen in the ball if you were watching it from the stands, is the claim that proves Earth spins. The Earth turned underneath the ball, proving Earth turns. Other than you pushing up on an upstick on a drone and it not deviating, and you're not arriving an hour and a half later when travelling from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA with Earth turning underneath. It doesn't turn underneath. If it did, you'd see the deviation they claim proves Earth is spinning. That's the point of Coriolis. So every bonehead dingbat like George out there who argues that it's not deviating is arguing against the claimed proof that it is spinning. Earth, that is.
Yeah, this whole argument about powered flight is a red herring. The powered flight would prove the Earth is spinning because you can go up in a helicopter and just stay hovering and the Earth would spin underneath. So this powered flight is a total red herring, and they're trying to say by using the words that, oh, the pilot is adjusting for the Earth spin. All right, well, let's just get it up there and hover and the pilot doesn't adjust.
Oh, let me unpack that too.
Underneath?
Let me unpack that too. So they're claiming that they adjust for the deviation, therefore you don't see it because the pilots accounted for it, even though they absolutely do not. However, if you're simply travelling west on the same line, like you would if you were travelling from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA, they're pretty much on the same line. There's no adjustment needed. You just end up arriving an hour and a half later, and you don't. Because Earth isn't rotating underneath, and the deviation they claim that the pilots are accounting for would be if they're travelling anything other than west. Now, if they're travelling east, they'd be fighting against the Earth turn that apparently they have to account for. If they're having to account for it because it's causing some sort of deviation, the cause of that deviation would be Earth rotating underneath. No need to account for any deviation in that instance. You just arrive a lot sooner because Earth rotated underneath the plane. No, it didn't though, did it? It still took 4.5 hours because Earth didn't rotate under the plane, doesn't rotate underneath drones, doesn't rotate underneath helicopters, and the only claim that things do deviate to prove Earth spinning underneath are things with a very short hang time, like bullets and balls. So the reason their claim to show the deviation needed to prove Earth spinning underneath is only used when it's got a short hang time, bullet or ball. Because anything with a long hang time that they claim is not going to deviate, oh yeah, you show me a drone on a roundabout lifting off and the X you've put underneath it when it was attached to the roundabout remains underneath it when it takes off. You only push the up stick and it tracks along with the X. No, that doesn't happen. No, it's not retaining angular velocity. That's horseshit. So no, if it did, you'd be defying the very proof that's claimed to prove Earth spins underneath. Because that's what Coriolis deviation is, Earth spinning underneath. So fighting that it doesn't is definitely not proving Earth spins.
Powered flight doesn't mean only going west to east, north to south, and all the other ways you can do that. It also means you can just hover. And they don't like it when you show them that, Nathan.
Right.
Let's remember this argument messed up Brenda enough that she argued that a glider is powered flight. Let's all take a moment for that.
Yeah, and she's arguing for powered flight, so show that she can argue that there isn't any deviation. So no, you don't see the deviation under the hang glider. Well, why not? Oh, because it's powered flight. Absurd. But she's arguing that because she's demonstrating there isn't any Coriolis deviation. The very thing that she should be arguing proves Earth spinning, she's fighting against saying there isn't any, like George Netanyahu and Rumpus and Kosho and who's the other one? Zanuck. The angular attention is just an argument that there isn't any deviation. Well, the proof that it's spinning is the deviation they're fighting against. That's the situation they're in. Absolutely buggered.
This is I proposed them a little thought experiment a few days ago. because they like doing that. So I got a super tall ladder, right? 250 miles high ladder. And I climb into the ladder and I'm just holding on it. And then I see maybe just right next to me, the ISS, the International Space Station, fly by, right? And somebody have exited the ISS, but when that person, astronaut in quotes, leave the ISS, he's just chilling, going outside the door of the ISS, like nothing is moving, right? So he's just like nothing is moving. But then the person in the ladder look ahead of him, and he see this thing whistle of by like a mother, like super fast. So the ISS and the person just fly by. Like, really, is that reality? It's so weird. And then I say, all right, so let's say that person unattach itself from the ISS, the person in the ladder let go of the ladder, right? And they're like side by side. What will happen? They say the person next to that ISS, it keep just flying around at whatever thousands of miles per hour. But then the person in the ladder will be start falling little by little, just falling down in the earth. And I really cannot wrap my mind around it. And it was a lot of talks and a lot of kind of get a little heated because it wasn't a lot of double speak. Everybody kind of agreeing that will happen, but I really cannot grasp my mind around it. I said, look, so what's the difference, on the ISS is going the same height. Yeah, I know it's going to keep the angular momentum. Is that the explanation? But the person in the ladder isn't supposed to be in space and just start floating or whatever. They say no, the gravity will pull it and it will fall because the ISS is being always pulled to the Earth also, some shit like that. Just weird, a little twisted. Because they propose these weird explanations on thought experiments. I ask him the same, man. I don't know. I mean, I'm neither here or there on that because it sounds like a lot of bullshit to me.
Hey, Jose, let me help you there if I may, and I hope I am helping you. You don't need to use the medium of space in the ISS and the ladder. All you got to say is there's a non-inertial reference frame and an inertial reference frame. And the minute that drone leaves the non-inertial reference frame, you have your same example.
Yeah, the bottom line, they need things to drift. You need to be able to push up on your drone and you continue to rotate underneath with the claim to be rotating Earth, giving you the deviation, looking like the drone's going away from you, flying away further and further and further. Well, it isn't, because Earth's spinning underneath. In reality, you're spinning away from it. So that's what should prove Earth spins. You and your drone and it deviating. But it doesn't. That never happens. The only claim that it does is claim to happen in a football that's happening for a couple of seconds. Oh yeah, Earth's definitely rotating underneath that football. Nothing else to see here. Hang on, I'm filming it with a drone that's not moving a smegging inch, Mr. Tyson. So, what are you telling me? That the drone's managing to stay where it is with me having only pushed the up stick for a couple of seconds? Yet the ball is deviating because Earth's rotating underneath? This sounds like doublespeak. Sounds like the deviations only claim to be in things that are in the air for a couple of seconds, whereas things that are in the air for several hours don't show any deviation at all. You don't get shortened flights with Earth rotating underneath planes? Definitely doublespeak, definitely no deviation, definitely not a proof Earth spinning. That's why it's so clouded in doublespeak.
Nathan, quick.
Okie dokie.
Your drone, is it GPS locked?
Is my what, sorry?
Your drone that takes off from the roundabout, is it a GPS locked drone or is it just in free?
No, this came up when Ranty addressed it. He said you can just turn the GPS off.
Yeah, I'm just thinking ballers would argue the fact, well, it would be locked with geostationary satellites.
True. There's plenty of drones that don't have GPS. Plenty of helicopters that have hovered above the ground prior to GPS being on helicopters.
Very true, and that just throws back to my example when I was a hot air balloon pilot and went to nearly 8,000 feet for 1 hour and landed within 2 inches of our takeoff site.
Epic.
Nice.
Shouldn't the Earth rotate underneath and cause you to land in a completely different location if there's a claim to be deviation? In other words, if somebody's watching your balloon go up from the ground, they should see that balloon deviate because they continue to rotate underneath after the balloon's left the ground. But yet they'd watch it go up and then watch it come down and almost squash them, rather than observe any deviation from it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. We took off from Victoria Park in Bath. There was zero wind, absolutely nothing. It was the calmest day I've ever experienced. We went up to 8,000 feet. I think we might have gone to 11,000 feet as well, just to try and catch something. And we landed in exactly the same location we took off, but within a couple of inches.
Yeah, disproving that Earth is rotating.
And that was 1 hour in the air.
It disproves that Earth's rotating. The claim from the globe Earth side is that that balloon will deviate. From the ground, you will observe it deviating from your location because you continue to rotate underneath. In the same way, from the stands, you see the ball deviating as it leaves the guy's foot. So it leaves the ground, goes through the air, the ground underneath continues to rotate underneath, causing it to go through the goal, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. Well, if it's deviating, so is everything else, including that man's balloon that spoke. What was your name, sir?
Yeah, it's Darren. It's flat simple.
Flat simple. So Darren's balloon should also do the same thing as Neil deGrasse Tyson's football example. In other words, it goes up, you stay on the ground and see it appearing. It's not actually, it's just going to be going up. There's no wind. But it appears to drift away from you, even though it's just going up. Why? Well, because you're on a piece of ground that's continuing to move. Spinning, proving it's spinning, until it comes back down right on top of you. Demonstrating it isn't spinning.
I mean, it's almost the same as when you're 10-pin bowling. You know, obviously you can make the Coriolis effect.
The ball doesn't leave the spinning reference frame in 10-pin bowling, though.
No, but it does curve as it goes down the aisle.
Yeah, but that's an actual deviation. So this is part of the conflation from the globe side. So the deviation, if it was your balloon, in your frame of reference, you've just gone up and come down again. Well, that would still be true if Earth was spinning underneath, which it isn't. But if it was spinning underneath, your experience would still just be going up and down. So you're not travelling left or right. You're not putting a little motor on the side of your balloon and forcing it to go in a given direction. It's just going up and down. That's the actual vector. Whereas from the ground, it appears, if the ground's spinning, that you in your balloon are drifting away from the person observing it. It only appears that way, not because you're actually making it move away from the person on the ground. They're spinning away from you, and that's the bit that proves Earth spinning. The balloon seeming to curve away from the person on the ground. So it's curving away and up, even though it's only actually going up. But because the guy on the ground in this example with your balloon is getting squashed at the end of an hour, it observably isn't drifting an inch. It's not drifting, and therefore Earth's not spinning. Because that's the bit they need. They need the balloon to drift to show that Earth's spinning. The ball's drifting when kicked, right? Going through the goalposts because Earth spun underneath the ball. Well, yeah, spinning underneath the ball, spinning underneath the balloon, spinning underneath the drone, spinning underneath the aeroplane that doesn't take an hour and a half when travelling west. So all of this is disproving that Earth spins, because the proof that Earth spins is the deviation, and we often get fundies here arguing about there being no deviation. Oh, it's retaining the spin. Well, then that's not proving it spins then, because the deviation is the bit that proves it spins. The Coriolis effect is the bit that proves Earth spinning underneath, conclusively giving you two reference frame, demonstrating that it's spinning. Problem, when it doesn't happen, and we don't see deviation.
I
Earth's
think
not
I'm getting
spinning.
too much
right.
flattered indoctrination for one day for me, Oakley. If you guys want to see me, check on my channel. It's called Arwin, ARWIK.
Jose JG Gonzalez. So shout out to Jose JG Gonzalez. Subscribe today.
What?
That's good. Now, thank you guys. I'm out of here. I'll come back later. Boom.
Saved by the bell.
E?
Hey QE, can you hear us?
Morning.
Morning. Well, afternoon here.
What's up, John?
Yeah. Did I kill the conversation?
I was going to say, Quantum Eraser, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, shameless plug time since it's all quiet. Hey, 2 p.m. U.S. Central, 8 p.m. UK. Be there or be Sphere on the Quantum Eraser channel. It will be, today is going to be a spectacular show from Spec some years ago and Epistemology for Truth getting train wrecked. So check it out. It's a good oldie. You'll enjoy it.
Sorry, did you say Spec? Was he presumably on your side of the argument, though, right?
Yeah, Spec was.
I was going to say.
Well, yeah, he had a channel back in the day, and people would come on, Cathexis and Upside Down Head, and a bunch of people would come on back then. And Epistemology for Truth decided to show up and spout some of his nonsense. Well, I caught him. So it's pretty good. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I really like Spectacles. I interviewed him about 3 years ago.
Yeah, he was hanging around not too long ago, about 2 months ago, and then vanished again. So, yeah, Spec was a good guy.
I don't think he vanished. I just think he stopped chatting. So I kept in touch with Spec, and he's around. He's just not, actively participating in chat and things of that nature or making videos. But he hasn't detached himself in any way other than to, engage with his normal life more than he does with chat rooms. So I think he is still lurking around. Lurking's a bad word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, 8 p.m. UK on the Quantum Eraser channel. Be here or be Sphere. Epistemology for Truth, Spectacles, and Quantum Eraser. Go at it. 8 p.m. UK.
And next Tuesday, my live debut, the one where I'm in charge. It's going to be great, man. Tuesday, September 17th. Be there or be Sphere. It's going to be wild.
So it's... If I was you, I'd be saying, it's my debut on the 17th, Tuesday, on the Quantum Eraser channel. Be here or be Sphere.
Yes, you would.
Yeah. You never even asked if you could swipe that, but you get it wrong every time. So it's like, I'm correcting you on something that you've completely stolen. Not that I've got any room to moan when 90% of my rhetoric has come from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all good, man. I do it on purpose now.
No, I'll definitely tune in at 8 p.m. And then after Quantum Eraser, you've got the new time of Uncut and After Show. So that's at 9 p.m. now. It used to be at 10, just so you know. I did release a schedule for people to check it out. But so there's now going to be a 2-hour Uncut and After Show every day at 9 p.m. on Nathan Oakley channel. So that's going to follow the Quantum Eraser channel show at 8 p.m. And then following that will be Monday to Thursday, Ranty's round table. So yesterday's show was with a fake professor, and I don't know what's today, but certainly after this, I know this is live now, but I'll plug it again when we're in the actual after show. But yeah, certainly if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, just be mindful that there is a show starting at 11 p.m. UK, which is Ranty Flat Earth's Roundtable, and I'm sure it's a wonderful show. I have no idea what's on. I'm sure it'll be great. I'll be there in the chat. Did you catch his show yesterday, QE?
I didn't have a chance, man. I was swamped.
Just don't.
I was gonna say, don't worry about it too much. You didn't miss much.
I gave up on it after the guy's presentation. So normally, you know, for solidarity, you'd hang around just to see what Anthony's got to say and maybe offer support from the chat or whatever. But after his presentation, I was like, this guy's a fraud. He can't formulate a hypothesis. He's not a scientist. He's just a liar. Enjoy Anthony's demolition of him out of here.
Who was it?
Some fraud. You know, he formulated a hypothesis that was if the Earth is flat, and then his null being if the Earth is not flat. I'm like, how are you going to vary that? You complete fool. That's your formulated hypothesis. Claim to be a scientist, idiot. No.
I was dying at that. And Riley tells him, he's like, that's not even a well-formed hypothesis. And the guy was like, that's great. That's a great hypothesis.
That's a soundly hypothesis. Was it soundly?
Yeah, train wreck soundly type hypothesis, correct.
Yeah. It's too funny. Which was it? The Earth is flat and then the Earth is not flat? Is that what it was?
Yeah, basically.
Clowns, man. Pure clowns. Too funny. I'll have to check it out, man.
But he also he started his presentation with what is science on a slide. And it was quite amusing because you've got Ranty then transitions to a picture of himself underneath this slide, which just kept me amused for quite a few minutes. Speak of the devil, here's Ranty. But yeah, so he's got his slide with what is science and Ranty underneath it. And before he even got to starting the subject, I must have spammed about 20 times. You know, science is the establishment of a cause of a phenomena based on systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis. You know, done, and then a little green tick. And I got the opportunity to spam that at least 15 or 20 times before he even started. And then when he did, he used those words in amongst the rest of the bullshit. You know, he's got the word hypothesis in there somewhere. He's got the word variable in there somewhere, along with a whole load of other nonsense, completely, making it clear to anybody with half a brain that he's a fraud. Hey, Ranty, good guest yesterday.
Top guest, what can I say? What can I say?
Poor show, Fundies, poor show.
Well, he had all the credentials.
Really? I
Apparently
claimed he was just a liar. If you can't formulate a hypothesis, what are your credentials worth?
Well, his credentials stacked up though, but sadly his performance was a little bit underwhelming. I was hoping for a little bit more, to be honest. I thought Sleeping Warrior would have had his toughest assignment to date, but unfortunately it didn't work out like that.
I left before he started, so did he just take him apart with one hand behind his back, I assume?
Not even one hand. I think he took him apart with his left fingernail.
That's what I suspected. I said this will be an absolute demolition by Anthony. Enjoy. And then I left because it was bedtime. I was like, yeah, I've heard enough.
It was. I even congratulated Tony on his performance because he didn't need to even try very hard. That was the thing, because the stuff that the guy was bringing up was things that, as flat earthers, and we've been around this for such a long time now that we've seen all these arguments that he was bringing up. It was so old, the arguments. We destroyed them so many times over. It was like he hadn't even seen a projection of the flat Earth map. I hadn't even seen it. I says, well, how are you coming in then to sort of like debate flat earther and say that your model's correct because everything seems to work without even looking into the alternate the other side of the argument?
What? That's not an objection I would have. That's perfectly reasonable. In fact, I would tell him off if he suddenly held that up as a straw man because he'd studied our model. Because my argument would be, don't straw man with some model I don't hold. Why does he have to look at the alternative? I don't get it. Sorry, Ranty.
Because he was asking about how can sunsets set on a flat Earth. So Tony went into the flat Earth map and he was like, oh right, okay, well it can be shown to work on this. And he goes, I have not even seen that. Well, I'd be interested to take a look. I thought, well, how can you just come in and he's literally just coming in to preach. That's the way I thought it was.
Yeah, that's how I saw it too.
Otherwise, you'd come in to sort of like say, well, okay, well, I've seen yours, and this is mine, and this is why mine works, and this is why yours doesn't. But without even coming in to see what we had to offer, he was just coming in preaching that he thought he could just take apart flat Earth within an hour or two, and he was just destroyed.
Sure, he was. I've just taken a different attitude, which if carry on the vein that I'm thinking of now in terms of what you've just told me, I'll just end up annoying you personally, which is, not my objective. I'm sure Anthony did a very good job, but by the same token, what we've got to offer, the azimuthal equidistant projection and a reification of bloody balls of light in the sky at given distances, that's not my model.
No, we're not saying it. We weren't saying it was our model at all. We were just saying, look, flat earthers have put a model out, and this seems to take care of what you've just said. Whether or not it's true or not is a totally different matter. But the fact that you hadn't even looked into it.
Hold on a second. You're talking about models. His model?
Yeah,
the whole
that was his
argument
belief.
is bunk.
He was a model believer. Everything he said in his presentation was pointing at it.
Yeah. As soon as he said model, the argument was over.
It was like he came in to just say, I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah, the arrogance.
And you will listen to me because I'm a professor.
Yeah, the arrogance of people who believe in the globe is unreal. Because they've been so brainwashed that it's already a done deal that when they step into this arena, 9 times out of 10, they haven't got the vaguest notion what they're even in for. They haven't studied up and brushed up on the alternative arguments. They haven't looked into it or explored it. They just know they're right. And they come in and have their ass handed to you, and suddenly they're in, like, deer in the headlights mode and can't quite believe what's happening. Oh, what? What do you mean there is an alternative explanation? It's like the guy's basically saying, I have absolutely no requirement to even look into the alternative. I automatically know I'm right, and I'm educated with letters after my name. Therefore, you will damn well listen to me tell you how right I am for a bit. You idiots. That's his attitude.
That was it. But one thing that happened with Tony was that he'd asked for pre-disclosure of the information, what they were going to talk about. And this guy wouldn't produce what he was going to talk about. So he said, right, okay, then we can just watch a video then if that's the case. I've done a video, go and watch it and we'll talk about those things, yeah? So Tony went and watched this video. It was like an hour and 20 minutes, researched everything, and then the guy brought nothing up about it.
Yep. Shocker. Standard.
Yeah, that guy was a fraud, bro. That guy wasn't even like a serious debater. Like he was nothing. He was literally like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was so bad. Like I was wishing for one of the regular ballers at that point because I was like, this guy is just a real waste of time. Bring Rumpus.
At the end, he was rumpusing and stuttering all over the place.
Somebody.
Cool. We'll discuss it a bit more in the after show, but with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. A massive thank you also to all of today's debating panel for making this live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Da-da-dun, da-da-dun.
Yeah, Tony didn't even need to get out of second gear.
It doesn't surprise me. That was the impression I got after the presentation.
Didn't even need to get out of park.
What Tony did,
get out of park with that one.
What Tony
did, he took all these slides and he went through them one by one.
I'm going to have to watch this. It sounds like a good demolition because that sounds like, you know when someone's got a scalpel on you and you're watching them dissect you, it's going to be painful.
Yeah, he was thorough. And I guess he did that because he was just so disappointed that the guy was such a clown. He was really expecting something better. And then it just ended up like, just going over all the fallacies. It's just endless fallacies everywhere.
Well, the thing is, Tony had stayed up.
I think he was just reveling and taking down another academic.
Yeah, that's what he thought it was going to be.
And then we were expecting to get straight into a debate. I thought he was going to do like a 5-minute quick presentation. Instead, it went on for like 50 minutes. And Tony waited patiently, to try and debate this guy. And this guy couldn't debate for toffee. So I feel sorry for him actually for staying up so late just to sit through that.
An hour.
What were you saying, Chocolate?
It was beyond pathetic. Beyond pathetic. How the guy could possibly be a lecturer in any way, shape, or form just astounds me. I was falling asleep. Just the drone of his voice was just beyond. Oh God.
He was slow. Yeah.
But just out of interest, Darwin, why would you expect better?
Well, it could technically be possible that he is just a teacher from the old block that's been doing that for a long time. Everybody leaves him alone, and his students will probably just try not to confront him because they don't. He'll use his authority as a teacher against them. So nobody literally informs or confronts him half of his life. That could be what led up to this.
But, I mean, in terms of debate, what is, I'm asking everybody, what is the highest standard of ball rhetoric? Who's the best person ever to debate this subject so far? Let's get some...
The Rumpus.
Nathan Oakley.
No, from their side. So got Rumpus. Anybody else? Any other opinions?
George?
The best?
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking
Who is the best at arguing for the globe? Who would leave the audience, in the most instances, on their side at the end of a discussion?
Johnny Globehead.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, of course.
Actually, in the debate, I mean, people that have actually discussed this subject and debated this subject, there's only a handful of them. There's not that many people on the circuit that actually debate the globe.
Tim Osman.
I mean, I think Zanuck would be a good example. Zanuck would be a good.
I'd put
person
Zanuck pretty
that
high
does.
up
What?
there.
No way.
Yeah.
No, but the whole issue is that they all seem to be compartmentalized, have their own little specialty field, which they know technically everything about, and they just lean on one another for their separate expertises, mostly. That's what I'm seeing.
I'd say it was a trick question, Nathan, because they're all terrible.
Well, yeah, but their terribleness does go in like you wouldn't put Brenda on the same par as George, and you wouldn't put George on the same level as Rumpus, and so on and so forth. But you know, generally speaking, they're all pretty awful. Most of them are on Brenda's level.
Now let's think of some of the old ones. What about Gem Panda and such?
Yeah, he's not even on the list. He's a terrible debater. He's not very good. Who else have we got?
Yeah, but Jim Panda over George. I'll take.
You'd say more people would be on Gem Panda's side at the end of an argument than George Netanyahu's.
I would say the best debaters on their side are
I'm good.
M. Scott Veach and Kosho.
M. Scott Veach
Because
and
Brenda's
Kosho.
a troll. Brenda's not really...
She considers herself a
Yeah,
true
because
debater.
I speak extensively.
My vote goes
I've
for
had
Zanuck.
extensive conversations with M. Scott Veach and Kosho, and they're very knowledgeable and interested in the subject. They're not your typical troll like Brenda or Rumpus.
They're abject.
I actually
morons.
had decent conversations with these people.
You do?
Okay, we're not
Yeah,
saying
I do.
that-
I do talk.
Go on, Bab. Sorry.
I do talk to these people a lot offline.
Ask M. Scott Veach how the modern synthesis is hanging.
Any more for any more? So far on the list, we've had Brenda, but as a dishonourable mention. We've got Kosho, Zanuck, George, Rumpus, M. Scott Veach, Kosho.
My vote goes to Zanuck.
I already put my mark next to Zanuck as in my opinion, that they're their best debater. Not saying he's good or undefeatable in any way. Their arguments are all crap and defeatable. But in terms of who's the best at double speaking and keeping their cool, I'd say Zanuck. He's good at rumpusing too. Not too much, but enough to piss the person off. Any more for any more?
Well,
that other
you
guy,
can-
his wingman, Emerald, isn't that bad either.
Really? You think Emerald's good?
Emerald.
Okay, fair enough. I wouldn't have had him on the list at all, but fair enough.
He's not an asshole knowledge-wise, but I mean, he doesn't seem to get triggered like some other guys, you know. So I guess that's the guy. I don't know how to judge these guys. Shit, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know.
But this is a pretty short list, is my point, right? So beyond
Well, maybe
that,
Toady. Toady might be
yeah.
all right in town.
I'd probably put Toady on the list. Well, no. I'm not arguing for whether or not he's got good arguments or winning arguments. My question is, at the end of a discussion, of these people who debate the globe, who would leave the most people on their side at the end of a discussion? Not are they right, not are their arguments good, that's not the question. Just are they good at persuading an audience, regardless of if it's using doublespeak and incorrect assertions. That's not what I'm asking. Do you see what I mean?
I do.
Hey, don't forget about me.
He cracks me up.
What about Sean Hufford?
Oh my God.
Sean Hufford. I mean, he's getting a mention, but he would be he'd be on my Brenda type list on the dishonourable mentions list.
Red's Rhetoric?
I'll put
Tony
Red
goes
Rhetoric on the list.
on
Yeah,
and
yeah.
on.
Red Rhetoric would make the
Red's
list.
rhetoric.
Yeah. Red Rhetoric would make the list. Yes, definitely. He's good at debating this subject in terms of his ability to leave people on his side at the end of the discussion.
Tim
Hey,
Oh,
Righteous.
is my mic working?
Timmy Osman?
Yeah.
Tim Osman, are you serious?
I'd put Tim Osman on the
Hello?
list as well. Yes, Tim Osman would make the list. Yes. Hey, Righteous.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, QE.
Yes, I said
Jeez,
hey.
oh man.
You're on mute. You're on mute. Unmute yourself.
No, you're not.
Cody goes out of his way
Unmute.
to talk about how honest he is, right? When he got exposed as a stone cold liar and toe tag. So, Cody, you are a liar, sir. Demonstrated, demonstrable, filed, toe tagged. Okay, clown? My word.
They all are. They're all liars. Any more for any more? Who else is on this list? Dishonourable or honourable mentions. See, this list is still pretty
Flat
short.
Earth has been doing it.
Say again?
He was debating infinite plane theory yesterday.
Ruhif. Would Ruhif make the list?
No.
I don't know. Ruhif, I don't know. He's not. I haven't seen enough of him in front of an audience to know how well he'd leave the audience on his side. But he's a fairly competent debater.
These people are morons. I can't relate to this discussion. Go on.
I gotta give an honorable mention.
Go on. Who to? We didn't hear who to.
I want to give a rest in peace honorable mention to
Unorthodox. Oh no, he's definitely not a good debater. Not at all.
Wiggles.
Wiggles.
Dawn.
And
I don't know. That's another one that's open to discussion. So would Wiggles make the list of people? I might put Wiggles on that list. I think Wiggles could leave an audience member on his side at the end of a discussion with him.
What about Dawn?
You're joking, Dawn. I think Dawn has the opposite effect. He'd leave people on our side. Well, he's telling them about how he believes it. And his leaps of faith that he's telling the audience. They'd be literally, he's poisoning the globe side with his leaps of faith.
P-Mars.
What about P-Mars?
Well, guys,
Dishonourable.
I've said the name 4 times.
He's useless. He can't debate. I mean, P-Mars. So I had a debate with Tim Osman, P-Mars.
Sean G.
He's useless. He's a complete idiot as well. No, Sean G would definitely not make the list. But certainly P-Mars would make dishonourable mentions. He debated with myself and Validation Boy alongside Tim Osman. And, you know, he's just being held up by Tim Osman, basically, in terms of his ability to not only have a conversation, but debate the subject. You know, P-Mars kind of falls flat in both regards. He's a bit of a recluse and struggles to just maintain normal conversations, let alone debate.
John G can't.
I remember Tim Osborne, though. He did say at one point that the Earth cannot be scientifically proven, the shape of it.
Yeah, we would
He
say
did
the
admit
same.
to that.
Yeah. I mean, Tim Osborne's not entirely stupid, and he probably, more than most, appreciates where he's double speaking and how he's got to be careful. So
yeah, because we hammered it into him for about 2.5 years. He finally got it.
Yeah, he knows
He did realize it, though. He did realize it, whereas these other globers, they don't actually realize it still. But Tim Osborne does realize it, that you can't scientifically prove the shape of the Earth.
Well, you can see
it
the
doesn't
weaknesses.
comply with the scientific method.
If we're going to poke him with that, he's like QE just pointed out. If he knows we're going to win that point, why not concede it early so it's not argued about? Again, we're talking in the eyes of the audience. So if there's no drawn out death with us pointing out there's no scientific validity given to anything in regards to the shape of the Earth, well then he hasn't got scientific evidence for Earth being a sphere, as is asserted by scientists, quasi-scientists in actuality. But conceding that means it doesn't go on and on and on and on with him dying a slow death. He just gives the concession and on he goes with his next double-speak rhetoric point that he might win.
Yeah, I agree.
Timmy doesn't know what science is. None of these clowns know what it is. Ask him to formulate a hypothesis, a viable one. They can't do it.
He's not stupid. He knows what the scientific method is, but, they just don't like conceding.
Oh, yeah. No, he doesn't. Oh, no, he does not. None of them do.
Hey, QE, do you know what they're doing now? They're equating predictability with hypothesis. They're equating the two, which I think is funny.
Now?
That's perfectly reasonable. That's perfectly reasonable. A hypothesis is a scientific prediction.
Yeah. So they don't know what one is. They can't give you the constituent parts of a hypothesis. They most certainly can't make one.
I think I've just Penny's just dropped
not
me
to equate.
I think I've just figured out what Paul means. When they say prediction, what they mean is we've figured out what something is, then modelled it, and the model predicts things. And that's a hypothesis. Yeah. That's what Paul said,
what I mean.
believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right.
The model predicts it, so it's true, and that's what the cause of it is. Yeah.
The model predicts it. Okay, well, you throw a ball up in the air 500,000 times, and you calculate the velocity of it, right? And then all of a sudden it becomes a prediction. That's their prediction. That's not a prediction, folks. That's just freaking Elmer Fudd sophistry. Post-diction.
Yeah, plus a prediction is kind of useless in a way. I realise that this is going to start off sounding bad because the science is hypothesis driven. However, the hypothesis itself is fundamentally useless. It's just a string of words written down or spoken about what might happen in future if you do experiments. Now, if you don't do experiments, that prediction is as good as a Mystic Meg prediction because it doesn't prove anything. Because it's got two sides to it. If this, then that. If this, not that. So it's got a null and an alternative. So just having a hypothesis. So, where is the systematic experimentation that validated or invalidated the presumed cause in that hypothesis? Because that's the thing I'm interested in. The presumed cause and whether or not it's bloody validated. Not whether or not they've got a prediction. Because anybody can make a prediction. Anybody... potentially, I know John's just said none of these guys could do it, and put to task asking Tim Osborne to formulate a valid hypothesis. You won't get one out of him. QE's absolutely correct. They don't know what a hypothesis is or how to formulate one. Given that a professor yesterday couldn't formulate one, claimed to be teaching this, what chance has Tim Osborne got in reality? Very, very little. But the point is that they don't know what science is, and just having a prediction, they think that's somehow scientific. No. That hypothesis, scientific prediction, must go forth and be validated or invalidated by systematic experimentation. And the systematic experimentation, for it to be scientific evidence at the end of it, you've got to have actually validated that bloody cause that you presumed in the prediction. Your predictive bit is the presumed cause of the effect. Well, so what? I can presume anything's a cause, write it down in a hypothesis. Does that prove a thing? No. Stick it in the experiment and see if it actually does cause it, and when it doesn't, then you've invalidated that as a presumed cause. You can move on with a bazillion other things that could be, But hitting bingo is actually having the cause. That's your scientific evidence at the end of it. That will give you your scientific theories if you're going to go forth and do something that's more expansive based on other experiments that have got empiricism. But this prediction shit, I don't care. So what? You've got a hypothesis. Wowee. Show me valid experimental data. That is what will be based on the hypothesis, your scientific prediction, which sounds wonderful, but who gives a shit if you haven't got any experiments?
And they don't know that science is all about cause and effect. See, this is the biggest problem. They don't understand this part of it. A hypothesis is based on cause and effect. So experiments, ipso facto, are cause and effect, validations or invalidations. They don't know this. And I hear a lot of people, I heard it not too long ago, that somebody brought up, well, we measure an electron. That's science. No, it's not. It's not a cause and effect question. That's a what is question. So it's good for discovery, yeah, but technically, that's not science. Remember, you have to ask the question. The first question is what I'm saying or what the other person's saying, is it a cause and effect question? If it's not, it's going to blow up right there. It's over, right? That's why I keep saying this, but people, I don't hear anyone thinking about it because people bring up this, the mass of electron, the spin of a quark. That's not science, people. Science is solely based on cause and effect. Thanks.
Yeah, they pepper it in there. The guy last night on Ranty's show literally littered his bullshit assertions with all of these scientific sounding words. And you're like, you're a bloody magician, aren't you? You're using these magical words that mean empiricism to pepper your bullshit about models. And that's all they ever do. He just did it in a ham-handed way. He just wasn't proficient at doing it. He didn't weasel the words in a very effective way. But that's just the same MO as all of them, basically.
It's all about models, man.
Nathan, can I ask you a question?
I got models. And then you ask them to produce their model, like I told Cathexis some time ago. I said, hey, dude, when you're in those hangouts, ask them to show them their model.
I complimented him. I just want to get this in. I complimented Cathexis on that, right? Not knowing that he got it from you. So I saw that show. I think it was with Jen Panda. And he just Cathexis is ace, right? He's so nonchalant. So can I have a look at that model? He's got it with not even as much as I put on, a slight upward inflection when he's asking so cool, calm and collected. It was epic. And I gave him kudos. And later, much later on, I mentioned it to QE, and he's like, he got that from me!
We were laughing in the back when I first said it. It stopped him in his tracks, right? I just said, ask him to show it. You know what happens.
Yeah, deer in the headlights. Had it the other day. You were here. If model, then time and date. Time and date. Therefore my model. That's fascinating. Let's ignore the fact that it's a logical fallacy. Let's have a look at the model. An hour and a half later. I'm new here.
Well, Xanax and Troll.
Hey, Nathan. Can you hear me, Nathan?
Sorry, somebody's trying to ask me a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Nathan. Can I ask you a quick question? This is about gas pressure, yeah? I do believe in gas pressure, but the Earth produces gas, obviously, from the ground at ground level. So how does it remain at 14.7 psi? Why doesn't it increase if it's constantly producing? Just a question.
It doesn't. It's in constant flux. So that's just a rough average. That's not the exact number. It's in constant flux. And it's dissipating constantly.
It's constantly being produced at ground level. So if it's constantly being produced, then should it be increasing?
Oh, I see. You're asking why it doesn't just build up. It's part of cycles. Yeah. So those gases, if you take hydrogen, for example, you've got a hydrogen cycle. So it's not just constantly building up. It's cycling.
Sorry to interrupt. Go on. Sorry.
No, that's it. It's just cycling. It's not constantly building up like you've got a constant influx of hydrogen. It's cycling constantly.
Well, can I say
That's just the
about that,
hydrogen
Nathan?
cycle, yeah. But there's other
Yeah.
gases being produced. So what about the other gases?
The same.
The hydrologic cycle.
Or the carbon cycle, or
Yeah,
any other.
that's
Yeah, there's lots of different cycles going on. There's not just one.
Nitrogen cycle.
Okay.
Nitrogen cycle. There you go.
The nitrogen cycle. The three big ones are the nitrogen cycle, the CO2 cycle, and the hydrologic cycle. Cycles is the key word here.
Well, can I say something about regarding
So
that? There's also kind of an exchange of gas.
Hold on a second, Paul. I don't think he's finished his question.
I was
Go
going
ahead.
to say, sorry, is it basically just being at its own level then? Is it just constantly finding its own level? Is that what you're saying?
No, so it's being produced, it's going up, getting thinner, and then cycling back down again.
Yeah, so it's just like a cycle, and it's basically finding its level at 14.7, basically back at ground, yeah?
No, it's constantly in flux. We do have a pressure gradient. The fact that that's argued against us as a straw man doesn't mean we don't have one. We do.
Yeah. No, the question was simply, obviously, why doesn't it increase? Obviously, because obviously there's cycles of many other gases, but they're all cycles, and that's what's explaining it, basically, yeah?
Correct, but it's gonna ebb and flow, so it's not going to be a constant, 14 point anything. It's going to be constantly in flux. There's going to be, you can watch your weather forecast and see that there's pressure changes, right? So the whole thing's in constant flux.
Yeah. No, that was all it was.
Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
Thanks very much.
All I was going to say is a good example of some of this is there's our bodies exchange gases, like we breathe in oxygen and expel carbon monoxide. So there's an exchange of gas too. So that doesn't necessarily raise or lower the pressure, even though carbon monoxide is being produced. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. And then the plants are doing the reverse. All works out beautifully.
Hey, Paul.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is Red Man. Did you look at that paperwork that I sent to you yesterday?
Honestly, man, I've not had time. I worked when you sent it to me. I was working, and obviously my mornings are consist of getting the family out the door and ready for work and getting Lily fed. So I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I'll try to look at it here in a little bit. You can go ahead and explain what you're talking about, though, and maybe we can share it and talk about it.
I looked in 3 different rifle shooting guides and whatnot, and nothing says Coriolis in any of them. None. That's from the military just as well too.
Are you saying that while they claim it's in the field manuals, it might only be in selected field manuals? Is that your claim?
Nah, I didn't see no Coriolis in. They didn't.
Breaking up a little bit.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you didn't see Coriolis in what? In any what?
I didn't see Coriolis in none of those 3. What do you call
I had 3. What do you call them?
the marksman shooting for the military? There's nothing.
He's probably thinking field manual is what he's trying to say. The actual field manual, it's not showing. I'm trying to get it. I can get it pulled up. You'll give me a second.
Sure, but I just want him to say those words. If he's saying he hasn't seen anything like that in the field manuals, I just want him to say those words as opposed to us leading him or saying it for him.
No, what I'm saying is, it doesn't talk about Coriolis in the manuals themselves. I looked at 3 of them. No Coriolis. Just talk about shooting.
Right. It doesn't say anything in the field manuals.
Correct.
Interesting. So there's obviously
that would be funny. That's kind of funny, right? You would think if it's a real thing, and if it was in one manual, it would be in all of them, right? If it was a real thing that people actually had to account for, dealing with bullets and projectiles and things like, yeah, I think that would be slightly necessary in reality. But that's
well, of course
when you
it was.
wanted to do with
All
the really
the
Islam
infantry
thing.
would have to have
We don't
training
always deal with
about
that.
whether they're facing
Right.
north, south, east, or west. They would have to have that training because otherwise they'd miss the targets. They'd send all their infantry in, and they'd be missing everybody.
Right.
You know?
Crikey.
Well, here's something else.
Go on, Paul.
I was doing a little bit more research. I was doing a little bit more research on, because I always use the hang time issue and the velocity issue of the bullet. And you know, one of the arguments I've made is the Abrams can shoot nine plus miles. Well, if you look at the muzzle velocity of an M1 Abram, I think it's like I think it was 1,000 meters per second. Do you know what the the speed of a sniper rifle or a typical small arms fire would be? You guys know that?
Tell us.
It's about 1,500, I think I saw. I'll have to find the source, meters per second. So now let's think about that for a second. So which is going to have more hang time? A projectile going 9 miles at about 1,000 meters per second, or a bullet going 2 miles at 1,500 meters per second? Which is going to have more hang time? Wouldn't the artillery or the Abram, so wouldn't, if they have more hang time, have to account for Coriolis more than a sniper would?
Yeah, the longer it's in the air.
Exactly. So that argument, when they start pulling that out of their hat, it falls apart right off the bat.
Yeah, nothing actually is experiencing any deviation. There is no Coriolis deviation to observe. That's why we have the fundies here arguing about why there isn't deviation. Even though the thing that's supposed to be proving Earth spinning is the deviation that's supposed to be observed. It's just nobody's observing it, and we're not getting shortened flight times, and drones aren't deviating as you rotate underneath them, helicopters aren't hovering and having continents come to them. None of that's happening.
Yep.
So hopefully the current audience in Nathan Oakley has joined us, having just watched Quantum Eraser at 8 o'clock, maybe 2 or 3 hours ago, but starting now in about 2 minutes time over on Ranty Flat Earth channel at 11 PM UK time, in case I've cocked up any of these timings, is Ranty's Round Table. Do you want to give it a quick plug, Ranty? Oh bloody hell, I wasn't expecting this. Yeah, be here or be sphere like. That's an excellent plug, Ranty. Thank you very much for that. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive... I know he's just come off mute.
Sorry, I was up.
Go on, you can get it in at the end.
I was up my ladder and I was painting this loft hatch, and it's like, he's calling me out, and I'm like, no! Yeah, 11 PM. I think we're just going to have a chit chat. I haven't got any guests lined up, so it'll just be me and whoever can come in.
So that's Ranty Flat Earth channel, 11 PM UK time. And with that, I will say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley Premiering Stream audience for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Check out Ranty Flat Earth channel starting in a moment over there, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!